thing, which allowed New England to sustain drives, which took Kansas City out of sustained drive and limited their opportunities. That was one component of it. The second thing was what they did in the red zone. I think they were 2 for 5 in the red zone. Whenever you can hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns, that's huge as well. But as you look at this, I thought New England did a nice job of using pressure. And really, Denver the week before showed that pressure creates some problems for Mahomes. Now, I didn't think Denver did a good enough job of keeping him in the pocket when they pressured or when they were able to get some pressure on him, even with 4, and that was an issue. I thought New England did a better job of keeping him in the pocket. And to me, this is the way to go with him, is to pressure him, make sure he's in the pocket, and it's how do you want to die? If you sit back in coverage, he's going to eat you up. If you pressure him, which they did a decent amount on 3rd down, you've got an opportunity to make a play just like they have an opportunity to make a play. And I would imagine these last 2 games for Kansas City, people are really going to look at much more closely to say, okay, this is a way that we can potentially slow them down. And the information is slowly going to build up, and we'll see how Mahomes continues to respond. You know, 5-0 last year, 5-0 this year. You know, last year, what did they lose? You probably remember.
They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Steelers in week 6, and they lost 6 of 7. They lost 6 of 7.
So, you know, that was with Alex Smith, and the offense was explosive. So let's see where this goes now with a new quarterback, but very familiar situation.
Yeah, I don't think that they're the same team as last year. The reason why, because I believe they're running more volume of offense. I believe also they take more chances with Mahomes going down the field because they trust him, trust his playmaking ability compared to someone like Alex Smith. So I believe they'll grow from this game, but we know that the personnel that they put on the field, we would have been shocked if that personnel, Kansas City, could have slowed down New England. Now, they slowed them down enough where they were able to get and create the turnovers that they were able to get back in the football game. But a lot of this boiled down to the first half being Kansas City moving the ball, first 3 drives, not being able to get a touchdown, and the last drive before halftime, trying to take a chance, throwing the ball across his body in the end zone where it gets tipped and ultimately gets intercepted. That, to me, ended up being the difference because they didn't get 3 points, let alone 7 points. But when you look at in the 4th quarter, where they were, that drive right there was very, very important, knowing that you're coming out the 2nd half and you're going to get the football. You could have done exactly what New England does to teams. Drive down the field right before halftime, get points, and a lot of times because they defer and get the 2nd half kickoff, they come back and go down and score on you, which Kansas City did.
So, listen, I want to first of all give New England full credit because, I mean, this was a game where they didn't have an accepted penalty against them. They didn't punt the football. That hasn't happened in the NFL since the merger. This was a critical game for New England as far as their ability to be the 1 seed in the AFC. If they lose this game, they're 3.5 back at Kansas City, and they won it. They won it.
Well, this is the thing, too. I think I should stop you. The thing about, and the reason why New England is so good, they don't think about those types of things. Now, I'm not saying in the game, like, you know, it's still October, and ultimately it might be important, but New England is able to isolate this week and make it all about this week compared to long term, and that's what separates them from any other team. And when I try to cover them, I try to think like them. I just think it gives fans the real perspective of how different they are than the other teams.
I wasn't saying that they changed their approach because of that. I was just giving the magnitude of the game was...
And most people think that way. Absolutely. I thought it's appropriate, right, because we should stop people. It's still October. And that's what Coach Mangini, he laughs about the schedule. You know, home field advantage, like...
Sure, but I get that, and I understand the Patriots aren't doing that, and we can laugh about the schedule, but we said on Friday, if the Pats fall to 3-3, the Chiefs are 6-0, and they have the head-to-head tiebreaker, it is hard to see a path to, if they play again, that game being in Gillette as opposed to being in Arrowhead. But
let me just stop you there. How many did they lose last year?
Coach, they're not the same team as last year.
But I'm just saying, what you're saying is it's hard to see a path. But last year at this time, Kansas City was 5-1, and you would have said it's hard hard to see
No.
a path, and then they lose 5 out of the next 6. Things change dramatically.
But the thing is, we were on TV last year at this time, and everyone can attest the feeling around the Kansas City Chiefs was not this one. Because I understand they started 5-0, coach.
I don't think it matters which team. I think it matters trying to project the 1 seed, like regardless of Kansas City.
Sure, okay.
If Jacksonville
throw that part of it
right,
out.
Coach?
So
last year, Jacksonville was 3-3, and everybody was excited at this point. This year, they're 3-3, and everybody's in the tank. I mean, it's just perspective.
I'm sorry, Jenna, just real quick. Throw the seeding part out of it. Forget that part of it. The part I was trying to give the Patriots credit for is the Chiefs clearly had a game plan defensively of they didn't want to let the Tom Brady short passes beat them, and they didn't want to let Gronk beat them. So they stayed with smaller people out on the field, and the Patriots gashed them. Sony Michel was great again. They ran the ball 38 times for 175 yards. The Pats deserve a ton of credit. But to your initial point about now teams will look at this as a book on how to slow down Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs scored 40 points. In the second half, Mahomes was nearly flawless from any way from either just the eye test or the statistical test. I don't think this was a game where the Pats defense stepped up. I think this was a game where the Chiefs defense could not force a stop. The Pats offensive game plan was extraordinary, and once again, New England found a way to win because they refused to make any mistakes aside from the one Tom Brady strip sack. Like, to me, that was the story of it.
Well, they scored 33 points. One was a kickoff return.
Well, he didn't score on the kickoff.
He was intercepted twice and could have been intercepted again on the one that McCourty dropped. They were 2 for 5 or 2 for 6 in the red zone. They didn't play very well on third down. There's a bunch of teams that are going to look at this and say, okay, what can we take away? And I would say go back to the week before, because Denver did a bunch of good things against them too. That's the point I'm making, is as this season unfolds, as this kid plays more, as people start to see that, he's going to get a lot of what he struggles with. And then the question is, what's his next answer? And that's the only reason I'm trying to tempo down the enthusiasm.
Is it him, or is it the defense, would you point to as a reason you need to temper down that enthusiasm a little bit? Chris made an interesting point before that the Patriots played about as well as they could play yesterday, but the Chiefs didn't fully reach their ceiling, and there's a lot more there. But I'm wondering how far they can go with this defense that they right now have to carry with them into and out of games.
Well, it's going to be a struggle. The offense is always going to have to be on. Nobody can get hurt. And the reason I go back to tempering down, we just talked about Derek Carr. I mean, at one point he was the favorite to be the MVP. Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, all these different guys who pop and do such great things early. It's just, let's see, as people start to understand him, it's a lot of smart defensive coordinators. Let's see what he continues to do.
Yeah, I believe Kansas City has overwhelming personnel and an unbelievable scheme. I do believe Patrick Mahomes is a special, special player. I do believe that they are the best team in the AFC. New England played almost a perfect game on paper. I know they'll look at the film and say they made mistakes,
sure,
but when you look at the lack of personnel, when you look at who was not on Kansas City's roster when they started this, Kansas City can leave this game with a sense of optimism, because you can't get off to a worse start as far as offense, settling for field goals and still being able to generate that comeback, forcing turnovers with that, and generated some pressure on Tom Brady. So with Justin Houston, if he was only one to come back, I would have a lot more confidence in Kansas City playing against the Pats again.
Let me just ask you this real quick, because you very clearly don't want to anoint anybody, and I get that. Is there a quarterback in the league under the age of 26 that you would rather have the future of than Mahomes? Is there one?
We're talking about it in the moment where he's red hot, and we've seen all the good things. Let's see when he deals with adversity. It's like making a decision with
Coach, isn't being down
a hundredth of the information.
But isn't being down double digits in Denver adversity, and they won? Isn't facing the Jags adversity? Isn't being down 15?
Yeah, it is adversity, but it's not enough for us to be able to move from the years and years of I'm going to take my time. That's the thing you keep. There's just a philosophy, a difference in philosophy of how coach is going to evaluate players and how you're going to evaluate players.
Is totally
Last year, it was Deshaun Watson.
He was unstoppable.
The year before that, it was another quarterback.
Which is total. I understand, and it's totally fine. But so I guess the reason I was asking, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot with a name. I didn't know if there was a young quarterback that you had seen enough from, or if your general philosophy is all of them. No matter how good they've been, until it's been, call it 50 games, I can't believe in any of them. because and if that's the philosophy, there's no criticism there. It's just something. I didn't know if there was a guy you'd say, no. Even though he's young, that's a guy I believe in. Carson Wentz. Some people would say, I know you believe Carson Wentz is a star no matter what. Like, I didn't know if you have a guy like that, or for all of them, it's wait and see.
And well, here's the thing that I don't know about Carson Wentz. We didn't see him in the playoffs. We didn't see him get in those big moments and how he responded in those big moments. So there is a question mark there. Is there a